Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Meta Cafe. My name is Janet Hickox, and grab your coffee, sit back, or your tea, or your hot water, or whatever you're drinking, and sit back, and let's chat about what's happening up in the stars today. I'm sorry, I got a little carried away. I was in the midst of checking out some dates for something, and all of a sudden I realized, oh my gosh, the time has gone by. What time is it? Time flies when you're lost in another world somewhere. So luckily, I looked down at the right time and I ended up here just in time. So welcome to all of you this morning. This morning, we're going to talk about a couple of different things, some things that actually have already been happening, that have happened, that aren't going away for the next couple of weeks. And then I want to talk about Venus moving into Pisces and what that means for us. And she will be there for the next several weeks. So she's really going to be coloring our love lives, our relationships, the values that we hold, money in some cases. And so we want to talk about how are we going to work through any of those Venus issues as they pop up. Let's say good morning to everybody out there. Let's say hi to Asa. Let's say hi to Colleen. Good morning, Rebecca. Good morning, Mimi. Good morning, Debbie Hedden. And good morning, Vanita. It's great to see you all with me this morning. And you know, I just realized this is the first day since what? Last Thursday. I wasn't even on here Thursday morning. Last Tuesday, where we actually are talking about astrology. And what happened, of course, I had different interviews to do, and then we had the Ascension and Astrology show and another interview, and then Monday an interview. I don't know how that happened. It just worked out that way. But there are some definite things that we want to talk about astrologically for this week and for the foreseeable future. Good morning, Vicki. It's great to see you out there. And Asa, I thought I already saw you out there, which is too funny. I said good morning to you, and then I saw your name pop up. So I must have just psychically connected that you were out there somehow. Good morning, Jacqueline, and good morning, Willa. Good to see all of you ladies out there this morning. So let's talk first about the moon. Today, the moon is in Sagittarius. It will be in Sag all day. And Sagittarius, as you know, is a sign of truth and optimism, adventure, boldness, and seeing the bigger picture. When the moon moves in there, the moon representing our emotional body, then our emotions are taking on those characteristics of being bold, being adventurous, being optimistic. So we really kind of feel good right now when the moon is moving through the sign of Sagittarius. That isn't always the case, but Jupiter's presence in that sign spreads the love of optimism and expansion all throughout any of the planets that happen to move through there. So what we have then is today a day where we're going to feel good. And then the moon later on in the day conjuncts Jupiter. And now we have the possibility of overdoing it. So we want to stay circumspect today. We don't want to go, all out. We don't want to color way outside the lines, maybe just a little bit, but not a lot outside the lines. Don't overindulge. Don't overdo it in any way, shape, or form. You might pay for that later. And the moon then is in, like I said, Sagittarius all day, but at 7:30 this evening, my time, 10:38 your time on the East Coast, the moon will turn void, of course, and as it prepares to get ready to move into Capricorn, where it will do that tomorrow morning at 7:08 a.m. Pacific and 10:08 a.m. East Coast time. And that fundamentally shifts the energy, right, that we're feeling. We're moving from the bold, playful, adventurous, truth-seeking, optimistic energy of Sagittarius into the more business-oriented and ruthless, goal-oriented sign of Capricorn. So you're going to feel a shift in energy between today and what you wake up to, let's say, tomorrow morning, or how you start your day tomorrow morning. But the interesting thing is that the planet that the moon last connects with before it actually makes that shift into Capricorn is Jupiter. So we have a lasting feeling of that goodness, of that optimism, of that hope, and that we can take with us when we move into the energy of Capricorn tomorrow. And then that may set the stage then for us to be more hopeful and being able to connect with our goals, to actually achieve something, to have success. So we want to make sure that we hold on a little bit to that feeling, that magical sort of feeling as we move into the day tomorrow. That way we don't feel like, oh God, we just walked into a brick wall because the energy is so different, right? Okay, let's see who else has joined us. Good morning, Linda. Good to hear you are up and at 'em. She had an outstanding session with Trudy. Awesome. Trudy, as you know, Trudy Griswold, the angel speak lady who does angel readings. And I'm guessing, Linda, you had your angel reading with Trudy. Rebecca says, but thank goodness for your weekly forecast. Yay. Yes, I did make sure I did that for you all because things are just getting a little bit ramped up. But not necessarily in a bad way, but I got to tell you, I'm sitting here, I feel this little, this weird energy moving through me. It's not a bad feeling. It's not necessarily a good feeling either. It's just sort of this energy as Pluto and Saturn are getting ever closer to one another. That something big is up, right? There's something big going on. And maybe the feeling of an explosion ready to happen. I can't quite qualify what it is that I'm feeling, but those two planets are titans, right? They are titans. One rules the underworld and the other one rules is the authority figure, the grim reaper, if you will. Saturn takes on that scythe and is ready to cut us down, pruning away things that no longer work, that no longer fit. And as those two are coming closer and closer together, they're also conjuncting the South Node, which in fact today, let's take a look. I have Pluto at 22 degrees of Capricorn and the South Node at 23 degrees of Capricorn. Literally next month, part of the energy for the month of April, as we're going to discuss tonight for those of you who have joined the membership and we do the webinar for April, we're going to discuss what that means to have those two titans, one after the other next month, conjunct the South Node, where it is like this noose around our neck that pulls us back to the past, encouraging us to look backwards in order to move forwards. So it should be an interesting chat that we have this evening during our April webinar. By the way, if you haven't joined the Living Astrology Academy membership group yet, there's still time. I haven't really splashed it out there in any real big way. I've mentioned it here to you. You guys were kind of my test group. If you want to, you can add yourself to that group today and still be able to join up to the webinar this evening. I will let you know more about that after the broadcast when I post in the Living Astrology Facebook page. So now the other big news that actually started for us on Sunday is Mercury, the planet of communication, of the mind, joining up from to the planet Neptune. And both of them in, of course, Pisces. Neptune having a lot of power in Pisces. It's the sign that he rules. And then Mercury in retrograde, backing in, as it were, to Neptune. Now, Mercury passed Neptune already once. And now he's retrograded over Neptune. And they're both parked at about 16 degrees. And on Thursday, Mercury is turning direct. So he's going to be hanging still right about where he is right now, conjunct Neptune for the next couple of days. Now, there's a little bit of wiggle room here. In fact, for example, Neptune is at 16 degrees 54 minutes, while Mercury is at 16 degrees 17 minutes. So there's this little itty bitty space right between them, but not much. It's like a bullet burn, right? There isn't much difference between those placements. And so what we see is this sort of transit hanging on for us. The next exact conjunction of Mercury and Neptune is on April 2nd. So we have about 2 weeks now, the rest of this week, and then almost all of next week, even though the second falls early in the week, where we are under the influence of this Mercury conjunct Neptune. And what does that mean for all of us? Well, Mercury conjunct Neptune focuses our thinking on the more spiritual dimensions in life. I know I was talking to a couple of different people over the last few days, and every one of them, including myself, my husband, my daughter, friends, and other family members who really would have no reason to bring this up, are all talking about how they've had these very odd dreams, or they've had these, stellar ahas, or psychic impressions and things that happen, right? They come true. And so it's really interesting because that's exactly what happens when Mercury is conjunct Neptune. Our focused thinking gets more on the spiritual side. We are more open to the mysterious, to the things that we can't quantify, which might be our, psychic impressions, our intuition, our psi power, if you will. And we are able to kind of tap in or tune in to alternative realms. And that also means that the things that we might be bringing back to ourselves is very highly symbolic. Neptune rules everything symbolic, and Pisces is a sign where it's often the symbology, the archetypal energies that we are bringing up. And it's difficult then to know, because it's not like written in stone that this is what this means, right? It might mean one thing to me, it might mean another thing to you, because we all have a different access point to the subconscious mind and a different series of experiences in our lives that we connect things to. So a sign and a symbol for me might mean one thing, but in your life, it's always meant something different, and you have to go with what's correct for you. So we have access also during this time to more creative and imaginative power, or it seems like our creative and our imagination energies are kind of ramped up for us right now. So we can see and access things that we might not otherwise access. We are making connections that we might not normally make. Right? Sometimes we are, there are times in our lives where we make connections, and we believe that we're making those connections through our logical mind or through our awareness. But now we're making connections from a place that we can't really quantify or qualify. And it does. Debbie, love you, love you, love you. She says, I'm a mess. Well, she's a mess because of something else going on. But what cracks me up about that is that it may be the one word that we can all relate to. We're a mess. I look at my desk. My desk is a mess. Why? Because I'm so busy in this creative realm that the last thing I want to do is be concrete sequential and put my books back where they belong and figure out why I have this random piece of paper sitting here. And, taking care of those details, it's not quite as fun as the more imaginative escapist energy. So for the short term, try not to get too upset with yourself if you aren't able to focus all the time, if you don't have that laser sharpness, because your lasers may be pointed more to the etheric or to the esoteric. I hope that makes sense for everybody. Now, of course, there's always the positive expression of this energy, and then there's the negative expression of this energy. The more positive, of course, is that thoughts and words and all of this can create this beautiful picture for us. It can include us in the most beautiful poetic energies. The words, coming up for us can be feeling very poetic and loving. There's unconditional love available here for ourselves and for others. But we can also take those same thoughts and those same words, twist them, or get twisted by confusion and doubt and fear. So if you found yourself, skating through the realm of confusion, doubt, and fear, then it is up to you then to turn that around, right? Then focus on the more positive, beautiful, creative, imaginative aspects of whatever it was that you've dove into. And you can leave that fear and doubt behind. So let's see what everybody thinks about this. Debbie's a mess because last night she was kissing Gronky in her dreams. Gronky meaning Ron Gronkowski, who just retired from the Patriots. And that, for a diehard Patriots fan like Debbie Tibbetts-Tumiel is hard to take. For me, I'm like, oh, wow. And she's like, oh, life is over. maybe not life, but at least, the Patriots not having Gronkowski would be like the Seahawks not having Russell Wilson. Oh my God, I would be heartbroken. So I get it, Debbie. I get it totally. Colleen says, I've been having those sorts of dreams, creative bursts, and still want to be a Buddhist monk or Catholic nun. I love it. I love it. I love it. That's, maybe a call from your inner self to, be able to come to a point of silence and to come to a point of peace and harmony. I don't know what that means exactly for you, but you could certainly take a look at that. Jacqueline, good morning. Yes, love what you just said. And let's see what else. Mimi, nervous as in waiting the bus to arrive and unsure when it will get here. Yeah, there is that. I got to tell you guys something else that's happening to me. And I don't know if this is happening to all of you, if this is just me having gotten myself into a pickle or what. But I'm feeling very overwhelmed by the amount of things that are possible right now. As in, I have my fingers in 15 different things, some of them major and really needing my attention and my focus. And I don't have the energy, time, or ability to focus on it right now because I have these other things that also need my time, attention, and focus. And even though they're not as big maybe as this thing over here, they're certainly more immediately needing my focus. And so then while I'm over here focusing on these things in the now, I'm really being mindful that I'm not working on this other big thing. And it's driving me crazy because it's like being split, like that split. And then I tap into that overwhelm, right? Oh my God, how am I ever going to get this done? I don't know how I'm going to get this done. And so I have to keep working with myself. Yesterday's broadcast with Amy was so powerful for me, as there now are tools right there that I can use in the moment of that overwhelm or in the moment of that anxiety and nervousness that we can use to bring ourselves back to center. So I'm ever so grateful to Amy for coming on here yesterday and for sharing those tools and tips with us about meditation and mudras and being able to breathe using the breath to bring yourself back into calmness and centeredness. Good morning, Alex. Good to see you out there this morning. Patricia, good morning to you. She says, overindulge. I just ate a whole bag of Hawkins cheesies for breakfast. That's what I'm talking about. Somebody tell me if you're seeing me now. Good morning, Courtney. I just nodded off. I guess I went to a different dimension for a short time. I don't know. So hopefully I stopped when I saw it went black. So and I should not be having these problems, but okay, whatever, right? The overwhelm and anxiety and nervousness may be translating through the internet lines. Or maybe it's Facebook this morning. I don't know. But hopefully, yeah, okay, good. Everybody's seeing me now. Thank you, Willa, for letting me know that. All right, so let's talk now about the other big news. If you guys have any questions about Mercury conjunct Neptune, please let me know in the chat, and I'll be happy to answer that. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for letting me know I'm back. Don't have a clue where I nodded off to, but oh well. Now, today, Venus, the planet that represents our values, represents our love relationships, represents self-worth and how we value ourselves and our financials, right? The money, the banking, all of that kind of thing is moving out of the sign of Aquarius where she's been for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And now she is moving into the sign of Pisces. And of course, Pisces has been a focus point, right? We have Mercury in Pisces, Neptune in Pisces. We did have the sun in Pisces, even though the sun has now moved on into Aries. And so what we have is either rainbows and unicorns or nightmarish delusions. it's interesting when Venus changes signs, because she is like the Earth's twin, right? She's Earth's sister, if you will. So where Venus goes, it has major impact here on us on this planet. And she is going to be in the sign of Pisces until April 20th. So a long-term transit, and it changes fundamentally the energy. So the high side, the good side, if you will, the goddess of love in Neptune's realm, makes it very much all about love. So Venus represents the more physical, erotic, human love, let's say, and then Neptune is expanding that love into unconditional love, right? The love of God, if you will, the love of goddess, the love of the universe, the capital L love, all of that bigger love flows through Neptune and through Pisces, while the more physical expression of love and affection runs through Venus. When they meet up, we have huge potential to embrace and encompass that energy of love. It's kind of an all-embracing sort of energy, love on both the physical and on the esoteric. So while we have that energy going on, we can tap into the higher energies that are available through love. For example, forgiveness, right? Forgiving one another, forgiving ourselves, forgiving our parents, our children, whoever it is that we've ever felt abandoned by or hurt by or not understood by. We're tapping into that more loving, forgiving, and compassionate understanding of where we are all coming from, right? The journey that we are all experiencing. And understanding in that, sometimes things happen. And we aren't the same person today as we were then, in the past. The people that we were upset with are not the same people today as they were then. And we get an opportunity then to check out the ideal of forgiveness and understanding and tolerance and self-acceptance, self-love, self-worth. So it is interesting because the planet Chiron is now in Aries, and it has been focusing our energy anyway on all of the things that you can put with the word self, right? Any word, self-acceptance, self-knowledge, self-discovery, self-forgiveness, self-love, self-worth. I mean, come on, we could go on and on, right? Whatever words that you can put after the word self are in focus here for the next several weeks. Now, there is also the energy of seduction that comes up with the energy of Venus in Pisces. Now, it can be sexual seduction, right? Where we're luring a partner into our world, or where we are being lured into a relationship with someone else. That is absolutely possible. But seduction can also be in a more etheric sort of way. We may be seduced by things that we don't understand, where we want more and more information. We could be seduced into believing certain things are true when it may not be true at all. So because our thinking isn't particularly clear, when we have Mercury conjunct Neptune and now Venus adding her energy into Pisces at Neptune's realm, then we may not have the clarity that we need to make really good decisions. It's like, when you have a major dental work done and they, give you some kind of medicine that puts you out, or you go in for a test or a procedure in the doctor's office, and they tell you, don't sign any contracts, don't drive, don't make any big decisions for the next few days. That's what this energy is like for all of us. It's like we've all been dosed up with some kind of drug that makes it hard for us to see clearly. Now, what we can do is tap into our feelings. You can feel probably more clearly than you can use your mind at this point in time. And that's going to be at least for the next couple of weeks. Now, that doesn't mean you can't make decisions. I mean, who can put decisions off for 2 weeks? I mean, if something major is brewing in your world, you may have to make a decision, but you may need to take some time and to consider all the facets of a decision before you make it, right? Because making a decision under a drug-induced sort of veil is not smart. And making big decisions under a planetary veil isn't very smart either. So we have to be very careful over the next couple of weeks about this. So I guess the other way I could put this is that boundaries and borders are blurred. It's hard to see where I stop and you start. It's hard to see where the truth lies, right? Where it just sort of bleeds one into the other. So be very careful in making big decisions now, right? If you've already been working on a decision and it seems the right time for you, sometimes it's in a system like astrology, where we're talking astrology this morning, Western astrology, it might be good to go into and tap into another system of astrology. For example, human design astrology. And the reason would be because human design is just enough different that it might give you better tools or different tools at your disposal, at your little fingertips here, where you can make good decisions. Remember, in human design, you have a type, you have a strategy, and you have an authority. And all three of those things come together to help you make the best decisions for you, not for your next door neighbor or your husband or your girlfriend and your, daughters, husbands, whatever, right? It's the best decisions for you. And if you do not know what your type and strategy and authority are, you got to reach out, right? You got to reach out. Even those of you who have gotten charts before, remember, I have a new program that allows me to do a longer term report for you. And because I lost all that information, it might be a good time for you to do a check-in with yourself. Request a free chart. With that free chart now comes a free report that maybe taps in a little deeper into your type, strategy, and authority. All right. So go to Living Astrology, www.living-astrology.com. All right. The hyphen, not the dash, because the dash is really kind of the underscore. All right. If you have any questions, let me know. Let's see here. People are saying some things here. Colleen says, good morning, Suzanne. It's good to see you out there. Colleen says, I had to buy a new car during this Mercury retrograde. The car is great. All the paperwork, crazyville, but it will eventually be ironed out. Sometimes we just have to make a decision. Like maybe you don't have a choice, right? Your car blows up and you definitely depend on your car to do your job. And, you're almost forced to do it. The wisdom then is to check and recheck and do all of the things that you can do to make sure you are making a good decision. Get the car checked out by a third-party mechanic. Recheck the paperwork over and over again for errors. Make sure that there's not a decimal out of place that costs you more money, etc. So it's just wisdom, right? The wisdom to know that, hey, this isn't the opportune time to buy a car. I really don't have a choice in all of this, but my choice is to make sure I've covered all my bases. I've been as careful as I could possibly be. Yep, my car was totaled. I was rear-ended. Oh dear. I hope you're okay. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm glad. Hopefully you're okay because you're on air here with us this morning. Debbie Hedden says, unless you are a reflector. And Debbie, I think I remember that you are a reflector, correct? Which means that your route is a little bit different. It's a little bit more, first of all, it's imperative that you take time to make decisions, right? 28 days, the cycle of the moon. And the reason why you want to do that is because the only real definition you ever get is when planets light up certain areas of your human design chart. And while you're waiting for the time, and this is big decisions, Debbie, this isn't like, calling up a girlfriend or a girlfriend calling and saying, hey, do you want to go out to dinner? This is the bigger expenditures. This is, moving, making big decisions about purchases, that kind of thing, right? And while you're waiting that 28-day period of time, you are talking to those people that you love and trust. And then it makes it even more important. Hey, hi, Janice. It makes it even more important for you then, Debbie, that you surround yourself by loving, generous, kind, trustworthy people, loving, kind, generous people, because they're going to be your mirrors, right? They're going to help you see yourself more clearly. And you're possibly a good verbal processor, right? Where you hear when you speak to someone what your truth is, or you hear when they speak back to you what your truth is. So anyway, we got a little bit off topic here, but if I were you guys, I would be tapping into this other type of knowing myself if I had to make big decisions or if there was something big going on in my life, because in regular astrology right now, those lines are blurred. I want to get that song, Blurred Lines, and play it for everybody, except it's probably not about the blurred lines that we're talking about. All right, another facet of Venus in Pisces is her compassionate, tender, loving, and affectionate ways. She really is a good friend, a good companion, a thoughtful listener while she's in the sign of Pisces. But again, those boundaries can blur. How long do you need to listen to somebody's story? Or how long do you need to keep transmitting your story to someone else who happens to have a compassionate ear? There is a small tendency here of victimization. Pisces energy, in its negative, one of its negative expressions is victimization, victim energy, right? Becoming the victim. We can be easily victimized by someone else's delusionary energy, or we can become victims of our own delusions. So we don't want to entertain that kind of energy, right? Remember, if you're being a victim energy is either I am saying, I'm so sad, nothing ever happens good for me, right? I might as well go eat worms. Or when you package up what you don't like about yourself and you throw it out in the world and you blame others for your condition, right? You blame the outer world, you blame God, you blame your friends, you blame your family, you blame your upbringing. All of that is playing into victim energy. And because that is a very powerful part of Pisces and a very powerful part of what it is we've just transmuted as we moved Chiron through the sign of Pisces, if it shows up in your field, it's not meant to be there, right? It's meant to have been changed and moved out, right? Moved on. So when you find yourself in that victim energy, it can only be because you have this other little fear still here that needs to be taken care of. All right. There's also a sacrificing quality of Venus in Pisces, where she wants to give, but she may give to her detriment. But there's also the sacrificing quality that says, it's okay, I will put my own life aside for the moment in order to help you. It is a consciousness of sacrifice. It is a consciousness of giving up something that is no longer working for you or satisfying you as well, right? So there's the sacrificing quality. And interesting, because of the gate that Venus has been at for the last couple of days and the one she is at today for the last day, she will be at gate 30, which is a wanting or yearning, but deep within us, but we don't know for what, right? It's hard for us to put the finger on what it is that we're not satisfied with or what it is that we desire. And in that, then we do our best to escape the pain of not knowing what we want, or the recognition of not having what we really want forces us into escapist behaviors. And escapist behaviors may be, tuning into, video games and not taking care of your responsibilities. It might be tuning out into, just mindlessness. It could be overutilizing drugs or alcohol as a way to blunt the pain that you're feeling, or the feeling of not knowing or not having something. So we have to be very careful that we don't really try to escape the pain that we're feeling. We want to be able to embrace that. And the reason we would want to embrace that is because it is a valid part of who we are. It is an experience we're having right now. The planet Venus is sitting at the gate 30. And let me see here. Let me pull up a human design chart. I think I pulled one for yesterday. Well, this isn't yesterday's, but this is March. Where did I put yesterday's? Well, here's a human design chart. This is a chart of a reflector, right, from March 19th. But the gate 30 is right here on the corner of the emotional solar plexus. So it is an energy of emotion. the emotion of wanting, right? Of wanting. It is desire, not necessarily sexual desire. It is that I want freedom. I want prosperity. I want a relationship. I want love. I want fill in the blank, right? It's those kinds of desires that we have. And we may notice, artificially so, the absence of things in our lives as a part of this experience of Venus at gate 30 today. It is a wanting energy. The ability here for us, if we move out of the wanting, which is like that void. Have you ever felt like there was a void within you? Sometimes people with gate 30 feel this. And if you don't have gate 30 by birth today, and for the last couple of days, you have that, it may feel like this void within you. And you don't know, there's nothing that you can use to fill it up with. That could be the feeling that you have. So we may be trying to fill it up with food. We may be trying to fill it up with mindless watching of television or things, other ways that we use to escape the feeling of that void. Instead, dive into the void. Let go of everything. Unencumber yourself. Dive into the void and then come back light, right? Not light like light, but light, feeling light, lighter. Not as heavy. And that lasts through today. And then there's a shift as Venus for the next several days moves into the gate 55, also on the emotional solar plexus, right here, next to gate 30, right there, right in the middle of the energy of the solar plexus, moving toward the root center. And this is the energy of abundance. Literally in human design, it's called the gate of abundance. When we look at the gene keys, this gate takes on new meaning and new importance. And I think it's actually more appropriate to really think of this right now in terms of the gene keys, because it's about freeing yourself from victimizing energy. And out of that comes freedom, right? Sweet freedom. And it is the only gene key that repeats the theme from the gift and the siddhi. Freedom is there twice. We move from victimization into freedom and into the big F, freedom, right? That's the two energies in this gate. So holographically, what the gate 55, what Venus here at 55 is giving us freedom from that victimizing energy. So if you've been beating yourself up, or if you've been packaging it up and throwing it out and blaming other people, other situations on where you are right now, stop that energy, because it's keeping you tied to victim energy. And so many times we delude ourselves about, hey, if I get that person out of my life, then I'm free of that victim energy. But you're not. You haven't broken the tie, because all you've done is pushed it away. Right? You have to go inward and you have to look at where it is that you're holding on to that victim energy in order to be free, right? Freedom. Venus is bringing us freedom. But in human design, this is still the gate of abundance, and abundance as an emotion, not something that you do that deserves getting abundance. If we think of abundance as money, let's say, and prosperity, wealth, it is not in the sacral center, which would mean there's something you must do to get it. Oh, no. It is sitting on the emotional center, which means it's connected to a feeling, an emotion, a state of being. That's even more powerful. A state of being abundant, a state of being prosperous, a state of being free. Right? And we always have the choice of what it is that we are going to be in terms of what state are we in. We may not feel abundant. We may not feel like things are going in our direction, but it is up to us to restore that feeling or that emotion of having everything that we want, being okay with where we are, having gratitude for all the things that we do have in our lives. So interesting energy that Venus is bringing us for the next several days, right? This transition out of this desire, this maybe bottomless pit or void of not knowing what it is that we really want. What's that hole within us? What are we filling that hole with? And then shifting over to being free, right? Letting that go, not being a victim of that hole or that void, but being free in spite of feeling that we had this void. I hope all of this is making sense to everybody. Any questions? Oh, hey, good morning, Londa. I think I just saw you. She says, I'm taking a break. It's funny. As soon as I told this larger group I'm involved with I was going to take a break, I felt a huge relief. Yes. Rebecca, the Neptunian energy really took over this last month. I'm loving it as it's so inclusive and timeless. Yeah, that is a really good quality of this Neptunian energy. Debbie Tibbetts card for the day. Thank you, Debbie. Number 15, message in a bottle. In protection, which means it was upside down. And it says, are you refusing to acknowledge the signs because you want things as you want them? Red flags are not pretty decorations for you to admire. They are warning you for a reason. If something doesn't sit right with you, trouble could be hiding in the bushes. Don't ignore the signs. Spirit always has your best interests at heart and will draw your attention to what you are overlooking. Thank you, Debbie. That's great. And Debbie Hedden says decisions never come easy. That's because she is a reflector. It's not so much that they don't come easy. They just come over time. And maybe, looking at it from the standpoint of you're getting input from those around you to help you see what's correct for you might change that perception a bit. Janice, where are you today? I'm at Jordan's. You made it to Portland. It feels good to be sitting still for a minute. I feel like being still. I've been moving forward rapidly for a while now. If you guys don't know, Janice is a friend of mine who moved from Washington to the state of Texas and now has just completed the journey, partway anyway, from Texas up to Oregon and eventually back up here to Washington. So welcome almost home, Janice. Let's see. Oh, our lovely Suzanne is out there this morning. So she brought us up the angel number 6, which would be in reference to the card that Debbie Tibbetts Tumiel pulled, which was the card message in a bottle, number 15. 1 + 5 is a 6. So thank you, Suzanne, for posting that. Vanita says, freedom. Love it. Okay. Now I want to read you guys something and then I am going to head out. My computer just did something really wacky. It scared me. It like clicked really loud. All right, Mercury. By the way, this week we also end up with Mercury turning direct. That'll be on Thursday. So the energy of the week is kind of one of change, right? Venus moves into Pisces. Then we have Mercury changing directions from retrograde to direct. And then on Saturday, we have Mars changing signs out of deliberate, slow, plodding Taurus and into the quicker, faster, but more scattered and less focused energy of Gemini. We'll talk about that later in the week and what that might mean for all of us. But it's an interesting bridge week, I think, in terms of change. I wanted to read something to you this morning. Remember last week we had Rosie Aronson on, and she is the creator of the Wisdom Keepers Oracle deck. And I just love the faces. I just can't stop, right? Those faces are just so gorgeous. And I thought this morning, this is the little Wisdom Keepers guidebook. We didn't necessarily need the card, but I wanted to give the gift to you from the gate 55 or the gene key 55. There's the face. I don't want to dig through the cards. I don't really have the time, but if you guys can see, there's the face for the card 55. He's a lovely Rastafarian looking sort of guy. I look at him and I see freedom. I see it. I feel it coming from him. So rather than reading his wisdom story to you, which is a fairly long story, I thought what I would give to you is his gift to us, right? The gift. And so here it is, my gift to you. I come to tell you that the freedom you seek has nothing to do with what you do, what you understand, or how you feel. It has to do with the attitude you embrace, no matter what is happening within or around you. Can you live your life without over-relying on outer paths, systems, and structures to keep you safe? Can you fully feel whatever you're feeling without getting lost in drama or the stories of the mind? Can you experience a longing without rushing to meet it or escape it? Can you find peace during painful moments? Can you embrace not knowing? Can you simply be? Freedom is yours the moment you give up the thought that someone else is responsible for your life or that you are separate from life. Practice transparency and radical self-acceptance, and you will discover your magnificence. And there are some questions for contemplation. If you guys have a pencil or pen, if you're so inclined, you might, just kind of sketch out these questions and use them for contemplation today. The first question is, where are you your own worst enemy? That's very 12th house, very Neptune, very self-sabotage in that 12th house. And Neptune is the ruler of Pisces, which rules the 12th house. Where are you your own worst enemy? The next question is, what and who do you tend to complain most about or blame? What and who do you tend to complain most about or blame? You know what I think I'll do? After I'm done here this morning, I'll type those up in the Living Astrology Facebook page. And that way you guys have access to them if you miss being able to write this down. The next one is, where do you most feel like a victim? Be honest. Right? I read that one this morning and went, where do you feel most like a victim? What systems or structures do you find yourself relying on or hiding behind? What might happen if you let them go? What systems or structures do you find yourself relying on or hiding behind? And what might happen if you let them go? Think of a time in your life you felt free and empowered. How would you describe your overall attitude at the time? Think of a time in your life you felt free and empowered. How would you describe your overall attitude at the time? And this one should be fun. Go one day without complaining or blaming and see what happens. Go one day without complaining or blaming and see what happens. Love it. I mean, freedom, right? We all want that. I think freedom and love are things that we all universally as human beings want. It is one of the hallmark energies also of Sagittarius, right? Sagittarius wants to be free. The reason I bring up Sagittarius is Jupiter is there, expanding our connection to adventure and freedom and looking at life as that juicy sort of experience and adventure. So there we have it. All right. Anybody have any questions, comments, observations that I didn't already read or see? Londa, great information. Awesome. Glad that Vanita means Venus, and I'm a Pisces. Venus, and you're a Pisces, right? So Pisces, Venus, that's a Pisces. I bet that's what you meant to write. It says Pisces, but she means Pisces. Awesome. Vanita means Venus, and I'm a Pisces. So Vanita, this is an important time for you. Take note. Okay, well, I don't see any other comments popping up here, so hopefully everybody's had their fill of astrology for the day. I will be back here tomorrow morning. We'll take up the next subject on my list. Who knows what that might be? You're welcome, Suzanne, and thank you for posting the angel number 6. That I love it when you are here and able to do that for us. Just giving us that insight, right, to what the numbers behind the numbers mean. So there we have it. Okay, guys, remember, this afternoon, if you're a member of the Living Astrology Academy, 4 p.m. this afternoon is our April What's Up in the Stars webinar. And you have the link already to be able to join that if you're a member. If you would still like to join the webinar, you can become a member. I will post the link to that here for you today. And you will still be able to join the webinar this evening. And that will be at 4 o'clock again, Pacific time, 7 p.m. East Coast time. I hope to see you all there. Take care. Have a wonderful day. Bye for now.